This is the police headquarters facility for the Los Angeles Police Department. Join Chief Charlie Beck for a conversation regarding the Chief's message for the month of March 2014. Central Division is currently field testing the on-body cameras. Could you give us an overview of that program?
Absolutely, Jack. You know, in our desire to show what we do and to show the positive things that officers do every day, one of the things we're going to do is test and implement body cameras. In Central, we've got about 35 volunteers that have signed up to test 2 camera systems over a period of time. We're going to do that, and then we're going to work out the absolute rules and regulations that go with them during this test. We're going to pick a camera, we're going to move forward. We've got enough funding from the community to buy over 1,000 of these cameras. So we look to have them implemented hopefully within this calendar year. You know, Officer Stover's here, and he's going to give you a little demonstration of how the cameras work and what is entailed with using one.
Let's bring him in. Come on in, Officer Stover, and run us through what you have here.
So what I have here is the TASER body camera. It's developed by TASER International. It's a one-piece solution which meets the camera needs for the Los Angeles Police Department. There's a microphone, battery, and a 130-degree angle lens built into the camera. Real simple to operate. When the officer shows up for his shift, what he'll do is get dressed, obviously, and he'll just initiate the on button. So right now it's buffering. It's giving us 15 seconds of pre-event recording with no audio. Just slip it on.
Stay pretty secure there?
Absolutely, yes, sir. And with the vest,
yeah,
it's I mean, you hardly even feel it's there.
Yeah.
The thing I like about it is there's lots of options to wear this one. This is the lapel mount, and you also have a Sam Brown mount, which is real easy to operate as well. From here, all you need to do is initiate a recording whenever you do a traffic stop or pedestrian stop, and that's 2-second double tap, or a double tap. The audio signal.
I heard the audio signal.
Tells me that I'm recording now.
Right.
So everything, you know, I'm recording, and I'm getting video and audio. Shut off the recording is 3 seconds, push and hold. Now I'm done.
Couldn't be any simpler. So is there a way that you can look at it and tell that it's on?
Correct. What we've also received are these viewing devices, and I can view evidence. I can also add comments to my evidence and LAPD specific categories.
Okay.
What would be the benefit for a police officer to have this?
Well, it shows your contacts. It shows the reality of what you do every day. You know, there's nobody that has worked the streets for any amount of time and hasn't had somebody make a false accusation against them. This dispels that immediately. Not only that, but people act better when they're on camera. You know, when you have somebody that is not going along with the program, not understanding your directions, you know, arguing with you for no purpose, it doesn't look good on camera, and people know that. So it's a great way to prove that you're doing the right thing at the right time for the right reasons, you know, and then again, in court, you know, it absolutely backs up what officers say. So it's a positive thing. It's not used in any way to capture private conversations between officers. The intent is to protect you, just like the vest protects you, just like your other equipment protects you. This is a piece of protection device.
So what's the plan, sir? Are we going to fully implement this program through the department?
Well, you know, a lot of that depends on funding, Jack. You know, I think that as the program rolls out, as we continue this field test, we'll know much better how many it will take to staff the entire police department. Now, what I'd like to do is have it be a personal piece of equipment, but we don't have enough funding for that at this point. But I think we'll get there as the program proves its efficacy, as it shows the city that it's able to save money in lawsuits and frivolous complaints, investigations of frivolous complaints.
So, sir, what happens to all the data that we collect?
Well, it depends on which system we end up going with, Jack. There's 2 systems that we're testing right now. One of them has its own storage system, such as Officer Stover showed you that goes into its own source. The other one stores adjacent to our in-car video system. So we're going to look at both of them. We'll see which one fits the department's needs the best. The point being, though, is that once you take the video, you can't erase it and you can't record over it. You can't modify it. but you can view it and supervisors can view it. So, you know, it's always available to access, it just can't be changed. This is a way that an officer can refresh his memory. This is a way to record what happens. You know, it's not about a test. We're not testing you to see if you saw everything that went on around you. What we want to do is record the actuality of events. And if this helps an officer to understand what went on around them in a situation, well, that's all the better.
Since 1969, RHD has become a very important element of the department. What does their value and their investigations mean to the department and to you?
Well, Robbery Homicide Division is where most detectives aspire to go. You know, that's where the big cases are handled. You know, certain cases, just because of either their notoriety or their complexity, are too big for divisional detectives to handle. And RHD, with over 100 detectives, is able to handle those kind of cases. Things like the Dorner investigation, going back many years, the Hillside Strangler, Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, you know, on and on and on. These big cases that are just too labor-intensive, detective hour-wise, or so high profile that they would cripple a station were they to be left in a station. So that's what Robbery Homicide does. They're the best in the world at it. You know, one of my cherished memories on the department is being the chief of detectives and working directly with them. You know, it's a great division with a great history. And don't for a minute think the divisions don't handle huge cases. They do. They handle murders. They handle you know, family deaths that are just as important to that family as any high-profile case, and they do it in an incredible job. It's just that some things are above and beyond the scope of what a divisional detectives can handle because of resources. And so RHD having the ability to put dozens and dozens of detectives on a case immediately, it's a great option. And then they can also handle the media. I mean, if anybody remembers the frenzy during OJ's trial or during Dorner or during any of the really high-profile cases, imagine having that around your station. It would be impossible to do normal business. So RHD takes that burden. Cold Case, you know, was developed about a dozen years ago to look at all those old cases, you know, because what's happened is technology has progressed so quickly. Fingerprint analysis, DNA analysis, you know, all of our ability to track clues, clue management systems has made us so much more effective at investigations that we need to look at those old cases in the light of new development. And because of that, we've solved dozens and dozens of murders and violent crime, you know, and I think that's a huge tribute to the Los Angeles Police Department and Robbery Homicide Division, that we care about every case, no matter how old it is. No case is too cold.
What is the Biased Policing Complaint Mediation Program?
You know, Jack, when we started looking at the biased policing complaints, you know, it became painfully obvious that a lot of times it's a failure to communicate. You know, it's an officer that takes what he or she sees as legal action, and, you know, makes a detention or writes a citation or whatever that action is. And then an individual, a citizen that is the subject of that action that doesn't understand why it happened, so they automatically or may automatically assume it is some kind of racial bias that was the causation. So we came upon a mediation system where the officer and the citizen could discuss it as in a peer situation and see if we could get way beyond this complaint, you know, because I think that all of us instinctively recognize that many times it is just a lack of understanding, sometimes on both sides, you know. One of the great mysteries of police work is how to explain what you've done in a way that forestalls a complaint, you know, and so this is a way to help you do that.
So
you know, it's a voluntary program. You know, it is if the officer and the private party agree to it, that will be the resolution of the complaint. You know, it's a win-win in that regard, and I think that maybe both sides learn a little bit. You know, the officer might learn a little bit better how to explain their actions, because a lot of times, you know, that's all it is. And then the citizen, on the other hand, may learn more about why officers do what we do.
I got to tell you that as a police officer, I'm very hesitant to get into the room with a person who's going to make a personnel complaint against me face to face. I'm really hesitant in regards to not only facing that person, but about just the whole interaction of that. What happens if it becomes a I said, you said in an argument?
Well, you have to remember, first of all, everybody has to agree to do this. You know, we're not going to force this on anybody. You know, you have to agree to do that. And then once this solution is selected, this will be the solution for that case. In other words, you know, it's not going to, the case can't become bigger than it was, and we're not going to add a bunch of allegations. You know, this is about a frank discussion about what happened in a way that can explain it to both sides.
It truly is that communication process.
It's all about communication, and it's meant to be a win-win. You know, this is not meant to be punitive to the officer, not in the least. And you know, what I want it to be is an opportunity to put forward our point of view. You know, Michael was an individual that was a great tribute to the Los Angeles Police Department. He's going to be sorely missed. You know, over 40 years of service in the mailroom of first Parker Center and now the Police Administration Building. An incredibly positive individual, always a smile on his face, always a good word to everybody that he met. You know, tremendous love for the police department and the people in it. You know, and I think as we think of ourselves as a family, you know, when we lose somebody that is such an integral piece, you know, it hurts all of us. So even if people watching this didn't know Michael, you know, take it from me. He loved this department, and it loved him back. The old Academy Cafe will be closing down for restoration for a couple of years. So you got to get up there before it closes. You know, that, of course, it's going to reopen, and we're going to always have a restaurant there, but it might not be the same. I think they may be changing the grease out and some other things. So that Rangeburger experience may not be quite exactly the same. Today I wear a mourning band. 2 California Highway Patrol officers were killed while working in Northern California. While we mourn for their loss, we always have to remember what they lived for. What I want all of you to do for me, take care of each other. Drive safe. You can't help anybody if you don't get there. Remember that. Wear your seatbelts. Take care of each other. You do that, and I'll take care of you.